Hello everybody and welcome back to Olive Boy Pens. I have a very exciting pen to show you all today, and it comes in an equally exciting box, I would say. Don't get a lot of experience playing with weird, giant, seemingly solid wood boxes. That aside, the pen I'm going to be talking to you about today is the Oldwin Classic. Oldwin is not a brand I had a lot of knowledge about before I started, researching for this review. But for those of you who don't know, Oldwin is the in-house brand of the store Stylo in Paris, which is one of the oldest pen stores in Paris. They actually just had their 90th anniversary recently, which was, of course, commemorated with a pen. I have been there and had a pretty good time. It's one of the most beautiful pen stores I've ever been to. They have some incredibly amazing pens, as I will show you in this short clip right here. The Classic is their most popular and most well-known model. It is made by hand, so all machined and turned by André Morat and his father before him, as they've been there for a while. And it comes in a wide variety of different materials and colors. They have a precious wood series, they've got full gold ones, and also they do rare celluloids and acrylics, including stuff like you'll see something like Omas Arco, which is pretty wild, and of course hikes the price up pretty significantly. But it all depends. It's just kind of a one size fits all type of platform for a bunch of different materials. The pen I've got for you today in particular is an Oldwin Classic in a rather rare Schaefer celluloid. It is one of the celluloids that Schaefer used on their Balance 2 series in the late 90s, early 2000s. And what makes it special, I'll say, is that it is widely regarded as one of the more fragile materials. The joke made about the Balance 2 is that it would, fall apart in your hands if you looked at it wrong. So the fact that this pen is made in this material is rare, and the fact that it is still intact is also quite rare. So I'm excited to have the opportunity, perhaps once in a lifetime, to show you this pen. And I think that's pretty cool. So let's take a closer, very, very gentle look at this Oldwin Classic. But first, a message from our sponsor. You wanna buy a lamp? They're pretty cool. Alrighty folks, let's take a look at maybe the fanciest pen box I've ever seen, or I guess held. It's solid wood from what I can tell, all nicely lacquered and polished. Shows its age a little bit. I don't actually know how old this pen is, but without further ado, lovely. In case you forgot what pen you bought. Even again with the box, it's not cheap. Like you can see the little joins here at the corners. It's not messing around. So the pen is, as you know, an Oldwin Classic. A pen that's been made for quite some time now. As a result, I'm not sure exactly when to date this, but my personal guess is around maybe the 90s to 2000s, as that's when Schaefer was using this material for their Balance 2 series. Said material is noted to be very fragile, which is a bummer. So this pen is special, on its own merits, but also because of the fact that it's made out of this pretty rare and fragile acrylic material. And I've even noticed the beginnings of some stress cracks in the top of the cap. Nothing more than surface deep, but I don't know if I would want this pen long term, because it would be heartbreaking to lose. So there aren't a whole lot of features to talk about on this pen, to be honest with you. It is a very large tapered pen with pointed ends, which I think is rather unique. The clip is, of course, marked with the brand name, Oldwin, and it is a screw top pen. A unique feature of this pen is that the threads are actually at the front of the grip, which I always like as a feature for some reason. It's just nice to have that pretty uninterrupted barrel, especially on such a streamlined, large pen like this. It just makes a lot of sense. The nib is either a number 8 or number 7. I don't think it's the full number 8. I think it's a number 7. So it's larger than your average number 6, but not quite as large as something from like a Montblanc 149 or that type of thing. It is still quite large and I think quite fitting for this pen. I think number 8 might even make it look a little bit too front heavy. So good call, I guess. The nib is of course marked Oldwin, Paris, and it is not hallmarked, but I know that it's 18 karat gold, as many French nibs are, on the high end at least. This pen is a cartridge converter filler, and although it is a very smooth transition, touch-wise, you can definitely see where the material is not continuous. So that is where you can twist off the barrel. Very smooth threads, plastic on plastic, so that's fine. Where it takes a Waterman style converter. I thought this was a standard international. Luckily, I had the converter from my Man 100 Waterman, and that's in there temporarily while I am using it. And of course, I filled it with Waterman Serenity Blue. For such a plastic pen, I guess, I'm surprised at the heft that this thing has, and I really do enjoy it. It feels very solid, and it feels very elegant. I had not tried one of these pens before, and I was really thankful to be given the opportunity to, even if it is a used pen. So I'm not getting like the new pen experience necessarily, but for the price, which I'll tell you guys about later, that whole story, it was hard to say no to the opportunity to check this out. So let's get this pen coffin out of the way. Oh, one thing, does not post, and I wouldn't try, especially with this material. Anyway, let's get this pen coffin out of the way. So, like I said, this is not a new pen, so I am not going to judge this necessarily too much on its writing, because I don't know the life that it's lived. I mean, it came with 2 empty ink cartridges inside of it, stacked together as some pens often do. So I won't judge it too much. I did notice upon arrival that the nib was misaligned. I didn't do anything except realign it. So, no polishing or anything of that sort has been done to the pen. Anyway. Okay, so that's a hell of a hard start. It's the Oldwin Classic in Schaefer acrylic. I want to call this like a medium broad 18 karat gold nib. It's a bit stubby, which is nice. It's got some nice thick downstrokes. I'd put them at around maybe 0.8 down, because this is a 2mm grid. And then, yeah, maybe like 0.4 across, which is nice. I think it's a very usable size. It is quite wet as well, which is, lovely. And I think this is probably part of why the nib isn't in such a great shape, but it's got a little bit of bounce to it. Not a huge amount, and I won't push it because this is, 18 karat, not 14, but it's definitely a fun nib to write with. It definitely needs a tune-up. Part of that smoothness is due to over-polishing, and I can even kind of just see it by the naked eye without a loop, that it has a pretty, over-polished shape at the front, like that. That's what it looks like to me. I'll see if I can get a good picture with a loop, and if I do, it'll be right here. I find this pen to be quite comfortable to write with. My hand fits right at the threads, which is a nice place for them to be, I guess. But it's slightly less comfortable than if it was just smooth. But I will take that over having threads where my thumb goes, because that annoys me a lot more. I mean, like, it's a classic, right? It's quite a nice pen. For the prices that I know that these go for retail, I would struggle to see myself buying one, even knowing that they're as nice as this. Just because, like, I don't know, I feel like I could get a lot more pen for that amount of money. You know, material aside, rarity of the material aside, that's kind of an unfair comparison. But I would much rather spend that much money on, like, you know, Graph One Faber-Castell and like another pen. But you know, the heart wants what the heart wants. If this is your favorite pen in the whole world, then who would I be default to? Yeah, I think this is pretty amazing. I think it definitely lives up to some of the hype. But I understand why this pen has been made for quite some time and probably will continue to be made for quite some time. So, after all that, what is my take on the Oldwin Classic? To be transparent with you, it's been a few days, weeks, maybe even, since I recorded the other sections of this video. Life came up, I'm in a different outfit. But what that gave me is the benefit of more things developing over time with my opinion and thoughts about this pen. Namely, the opinion of another pen reviewer. The Instagram account UK Fountain Pens, they also have a blog, which is pretty cool. You should definitely check it out. Posted a picture of his Oldwin Classic in Arco Bronze, which is, you know, a fancy material like I mentioned earlier. And it was in really bad shape, new, out of the box for $2,000, which is a lot more than I paid for this pen and a lot more than they usually go for in a less exotic material. But some things that were wrong with his pen were a pretty rough machining finish, the threads were chipped in some areas, and then the most glaring oversight was the fact that the very directional Arco pattern didn't actually line up when you close the cap, which is like, I mean, come on. For $2,000, I feel like you can ask for that kind of quality control. So he posted about it on Instagram. I also mentioned that I had seen similar things, but I actually had chalked them up in my head to like, oh, this is a used pen. But I'm starting to think that this pen was actually probably used a lot less than I thought it had, because the finish is pretty rough on it. The threads are not particularly well made, but I thought that was just, you know, like wear and tear over years of using a very fragile celluloid pen. But no, it's very possible that, including the poor tuning on the nib, which UK Fountain Pens also saw on his, these are all problems that are known to plague Oldwins, especially after I did some research. It's part of their charm, supposedly. If you want to buy into that, I have some timeshares to sell you. Yeah, it's kind of soured my opinion on the brand overall. I mean, I didn't really buy into why they're worth $700, especially not like $2,000. I don't think I'd ever buy one of these with my own money. Maybe even at the price that I picked this one up is. I forget if I mentioned this earlier, but this was found by my friend Stacey Hills on a French secondhand website for about $250, which is crazy. Like, by all accounts, insane price. Really good for what this is. But it's like, there are other pens I'd rather buy for $250, man. Like, I don't know. Maybe I can't name one off the top of my head, but maybe I'd just rather have that money. What's happened to me? I don't know. I mean, like, I hesitate to say that I really dislike this pen, but I don't get it. I respect people who like this pen. It's, of course, kind of a classic, but it's a nice feeling cartridge converter, Yovonib acrylic pen at the end of the day. And I know it's made by hand in Paris, but like a lot of things are made by hand in Paris. So, you know, take that as you may. I think you could get a lot more enjoyment and value out of perhaps a small pen maker that does custom work, like, you know, Newton pens or the variety of incredible pen makers that are throughout the world, and not pay for shoddy workmanship, which seems maybe extreme because, you know, it's a perhaps an isolated example, but I feel as if there's going to be more issues, especially because Morat Stylo, the store and, you know, maker, has joined the pen family, which, if you are not aware, they are a conglomerate of brands that do ASC, they do Wall Eversharp, the new Wall Eversharp, and a couple other ones. And they are known to sell just like, you know, wildly expensive, huge pens that are, you know, kind of cashing in on a historic cachet of some kind. You know, Oldwin would be no exception. But now they are joined together. There have already been a couple of pens that have come out as part of the collaboration between Morat and the pen family. And I mean, the nibs are still bad. Like, that's always kind of been a problem with a lot of ASC pens and pen family products in general, which is, I mean, we could get into a whole conversation about like why it's still okay that pen makers are shipping pens with bad nibs, but I can't trust you. I can't trust you at all. All that being said, I am very grateful to my friend Stacy for giving me the opportunity to check out this pen and to engage in the larger drama surrounding this brand. Let me know if there are any other cool little pens that maybe have some drama surrounding them that you'd want me to check out and weigh in on. I think that's always a fun video when there's a little controversy in it. Otherwise, thank you so much for all the support so far. I just sent my application for channel monetization, so I'll see how that goes. But your support so far has been incredible. Even though I'm not posting consistently, I really appreciate it. And I read all your comments. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. And I will see you next time. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but it'll be something fun. Bye, everyone. Here, back for the final addendum to this honestly crazy video at this point. So, after all of the events previously talked about in this video, André Morat, you know, owner of Morat Stylo, maker of the Oldwin that I just talked about, has caught a lot of flack from people on the internet. A lot of people started coming out about their experiences with Oldwins and how they're never really finished that well. And basically he decided to stop making his own pens. He is no longer going to be making Oldwins out of the studio in Paris. All production is going to go over to the pen family, the pen mafia. And yeah, so that's kind of wild. I'm gonna reserve my judgment on whether or not that was the move to make, because like I can obviously not put myself in his shoes, but pretty wild move. To be fair, it seems maybe he may have just been looking for an excuse to stop anyway, but pretty crazy that this is how it all went down. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Catch me over on Instagram at oliveoilpens. I'm going to be doing some short form content over there, and you know, as well as behind the scenes stuff from videos. And yeah, thank you so much again, and I will see you next time.